My brother's arrogant partner called me a charity case, so my investigative exposé destroyed his entire career publicly. I stood there in my secondhand blazer while the room went carefully quiet. My mother adjusted her bracelet. My father found something interesting in his drink. My brother Dev, brilliant, decorated Dev, laughed like it was a joke and moved the conversation forward. I'm Priya, 31, the one who writes for a living, which my family has treated as a prolonged hobby since I graduated. Dev was the success story. His partner, Rohan, was the golden addition. And I was the anecdote they told warmly at dinner to explain why arts degrees were risky. Dev was the only reason I'd come. He'd called personally, said it meant something to have me there. So when Rohan leaned close during cocktail hour and murmured, seriously, what do you actually contribute to this family? I smiled. More than you know, I said. Want to find out right now? His expression flickered. Just slightly. I'd found out about Rohan 7 months earlier entirely by accident. I was interviewing a source at a hotel bar for an investigative piece and saw him across the room with a woman who was not his wife, hand on her back, heads together, the specific posture of something hidden. I didn't think much of it until I recognized the woman. She was a junior partner at a competing firm, someone who'd been positioned to testify in an ongoing industry arbitration that Rohan's firm had a significant stake in. I took one photo on reflex, journalist habit. Then I started pulling the thread. It took 3 months. 2 sources. One former colleague of Rohan's who answered my email with, I've been waiting for someone to ask texts. A financial disclosure that didn't add up. A pattern of meetings logged as client dinners that corresponded with arbitration dates. Not a personal vendetta. A story. Real. Documented. Sourced. After the ceremony, my family folded around Rohan like he was whether they decided to accept. My mother said I'd embarrassed Deb by being visibly uncomfortable. My brother texted that night, asterisk you could try harder with him. For me, asterisk. I didn't respond. Rohan started leaving comments on my published work. Anonymous, but traceable to a device registered near his office. One editor called me asking if I was involved in some professional dispute. Rohan had apparently reached out suggesting my recent pitch had a conflict of interest. That's when I stopped being patient. I finished the piece. My editor read it overnight and called me at 7 a.m. Her voice was controlled in the way that means something large is happening. This is airtight, she said. We're running it. Rohan's firm was hosting their annual industry conference the week it published. Keynote speaker, full room, cameras. He walked onto that stage at 11 a.m. to applause. By 11:40, the piece had been shared 600 times. By noon, 3 journalists in the room had pulled it up on their phones. Someone asked a question from the floor that wasn't on the approved list. Rohan's answer didn't hold. Another question, then another. I watched the live stream from my apartment. I watched his posture change. That specific moment when a person realizes the room has shifted and there's no direction to move that helps. Conference security walked him out a side door while cameras were still rolling. The next morning my phone had 17 messages. My mother said I destroyed Dev's career out of jealousy. My father stayed silent, which was its own answer. Dev called 4 days later. His voice was stripped of its usual confidence. Did you know when you came to the ceremony? He asked. I had most of it, I said. A long silence. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me over him? He didn't answer. Which was the answer? 3 weeks later he texted asking if we could have dinner. Just us. I said yes. He looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. He sat across from me and said quietly, I vouched for him to people I respect. I'm rebuilding from that. I know, I said. I should have. He started, then stopped. Yeah, I said. Not to punish him. Just because it was true. The arbitration case was reopened. Rohan's firm filed internal misconduct proceedings. My piece got shortlisted for an award in a category my family had spent years implying didn't matter. Dev came to the ceremony. He sat in the 3rd row and clapped the longest. Afterward he said, I never thought what you did was real work. He looked at his hands. I was wrong. I didn't tell him it was fine. It wasn't, fully. But I told him we had time if he wanted to use it differently. He did. Was I wrong for letting it run when I did? I've asked myself. The answer is still no.